Hello, knowledge seekers. In this episode of 20-Minute Books, we summarize Good to Great, the updated edition by author Jim Collins. Good to Great shares insights from an intensive 5-year study where Collins and his research team examined companies that moved from average performance to long-lasting success. They discovered specific characteristics that made these businesses stand apart from their less successful competitors. You will learn key concepts about effective leadership, strategic management, and the kind of corporate culture that drives companies to greatness. Jim Collins is an American author, lecturer, and business consultant who has taught at Stanford Graduate School of Business, and he regularly contributes to major publications such as Fortune, Business Week, and Harvard Business Review. This episode is ideal for managers, founders, and business executives determined to grow and improve their organizations. It is also suitable for leaders aiming to simplify and strengthen their business strategy, and for anyone interested in creating and maintaining a thriving corporate culture. A Good to Great, new version. Why some companies make the leap and others don't. Introduction. Discover what separates companies that thrive from those that merely survive. Ever wondered what makes certain businesses become exceptional, while others remain stuck in a rut of mediocrity or fall backwards after a brief spark of success? Best-selling author Jim Collins became fascinated by this very question. Inspired by his earlier research on companies that endured greatness, he wanted to uncover how exactly an average company could transform itself into a consistently outstanding one, and stay that way. To unravel the mystery, Collins and his dedicated team embarked on an in-depth 5-year research project. They carefully sifted through data from public U.S. companies, analyzing more than 6,000 press articles and conducting extensive interviews amounting to more than 2,000 pages of detailed insights from business executives. Their research illuminated pivotal differences across 3 kinds of companies. The first, the real champions, were businesses that seemingly appeared average, sometimes even lagging behind the market, for over 15 years. But then, almost magically, they shifted gears. These companies didn't just improve, they soared ahead, producing returns that outperformed the stock market by at least 3-fold, and maintained these stellar results consistently for at least another 15 years. Contrast this with a second group, companies considered the mediocrity club. These competitor organizations had the same opportunities and resources, yet failed to break free from being merely good enough, or even slid further behind. Finally, a third category emerged, the brief stars. Initially, they looked promising by pulling ahead briefly, but couldn't sustain their newfound excellence, eventually tumbling back to below-average performance. What made the sustained success stories distinct? Collins' work carefully distills their formula into practical insights and concrete steps, lessons any company can apply today. Ready to discover how your own organization can step out of mediocrity and start its journey to lasting greatness? Part 1. Why finding your company's hedgehog concept is the key to lasting success. Picture a crafty fox constantly scheming new plans and tactics to catch a hedgehog. Every day the fox tries clever tricks, careful ambushes, elaborate traps, countless strategies to finally catch its spiky rival. And yet, every single time, the hedgehog calmly curls itself up into a prickly, impenetrable ball. One simple move, but always effective. While the fox gets tangled in overthinking and complexity, the hedgehog thrives by focusing on one straightforward, reliable defense. Jim Collins uses this vivid metaphor to describe something he calls the hedgehog concept, a powerful, clarifying principle discovered in his research into what makes good companies great. The hedgehog concept is about finding that one core strategy, the singular focus, that drives every key decision your organization makes. Collins and his team found that each of the lasting, exceptional businesses they studied took time, often several years, to pinpoint their unique hedgehog concept, by rigorously answering three critical questions. First, what can we become the best in the world at? Not merely good or even excellent, but truly world-class, unmatched in your field. Second, what ignites our passion? Identifying something meaningful and inspiring, something the entire team deeply cares about. And third, what economic measure drives our success? Pinpointing the one essential financial indicator, like profit per customer or return on investment, that most closely aligns with your organization's long-term goals. Greatness comes to companies only after carefully exploring and iterating these three questions. On average, Collins found it took them around 4 years of honest debate, difficult conversations, and strategic experimentation before arriving at their focused hedgehog concept. Once defined, every decision, every action, and every strategic move the company took aligned perfectly with this singular clarity, leading to sustained achievement and success. Companies that lack this clear center often veer off course, frittering away resources on scattered initiatives. The hedgehog concept is ultimately about knowing exactly who you are, staying true to your core strengths, following your passion, and measuring your success by that one essential economic metric. It's simplicity at its finest, and, as Collins' research makes clear, it's incredibly effective. In short, stop thinking like the fox, become the hedgehog. Part 2. Real, lasting success doesn't happen overnight. It builds slowly, one step at a time. We often believe major success comes in one sweeping move, a stunning market breakthrough, a groundbreaking innovation, or a bold strategic shift. But according to Jim Collins' insightful research, enduring success rarely occurs dramatically or suddenly. Instead, it quietly emerges through countless small pushes, each steadily moving a company forward along its carefully defined hedgehog concept. Think of it this way. Imagine pushing a massive flywheel. At first it's heavy, slow-moving, and difficult to budge. But you push faithfully, little by little, gaining a bit more momentum each time. Gradually, the wheel starts spinning faster, propelled forward by your consistent, incremental efforts. Ultimately, all those minor pushes blend seamlessly to create unstoppable momentum, driving your business toward remarkable transformation. Companies that journey from good to great understand this perfectly. Rather than relying on flashy new initiatives or groundbreaking announcements, they patiently commit to small, persistent pushes in a unified direction, each aligned clearly with their hedgehog concept. Take Nucor, for instance, an American steel company that faced potential bankruptcy back in the mid-1960s. Nucor decided that by utilizing smaller, efficient mini-mills, they could outperform traditional steel giants. Adopting this simple, focused concept, they patiently opened one mini-mill at a time, gradually attracted new customers, and then reinvested the momentum in additional expansions. There was no dramatic turnaround or catchy corporate slogan driving their success. Instead, CEO Ken Iverson recognized in 1975 that if Nucor kept repeating their straightforward approach, slowly but steadily pushing their flywheel, they could eventually become the leading, most profitable steel manufacturer in the United States. And sure enough, though it took over 2 decades, they did exactly that, outperforming the overall stock market by 5 times. On the other hand, competitors lacking the patience and discipline to pursue incremental progress reached for flashy, big-ticket solutions. They jumped from one trend or acquisition to another, hoping for instant success. Each time they changed course, they disrupted their own momentum. Constant shifts and short-term thinking ensured their flywheel never gained enough speed to take off. Collins's essential lesson? Once you have established your hedgehog concept, stay true and disciplined, committing faithfully to incremental improvements aligned consistently toward your goal. Great companies are rarely flashy or sudden achievers. Instead, they persistently push their flywheel, gradually and powerfully turning small efforts into sustainable excellence. In the end, greatness isn't the result of one impressive action. It's the collective power of numerous little nudges all pointing in the same clear direction. Part 3. Technology isn't the finish line, it's just fuel for your journey. We often think about the latest technology as a magical ingredient for success. Rush to adopt the newest innovation, and you'll automatically leap ahead of competitors. But companies that make the leap from good to great understand something crucial. New technologies are useful only when they're stepping stones, tools to speed your progress toward an existing goal, not shiny goals themselves. Jim Collins's research clearly shows that truly great companies don't blindly chase after innovations because they're trendy. Instead, they stay calm and rational, meticulously examining new technologies and asking, will this help accelerate our defined strategic direction? If so, they enthusiastically become pioneers, harnessing technology to supercharge their growth. But if it doesn't align clearly with their hedgehog concept, they're perfectly comfortable ignoring the buzz, letting others chase the trends while they maintain discipline and stay focused on their path. Contrast this disciplined approach with mediocre companies. They view new technology through a lens of fear and anxiety. They panic, afraid of being seen as outdated or left behind, and they jump into adopting innovations without any real strategy or goal in mind. The result? A directionless, frantic chase after the next shiny object, often leaving them lagging behind instead of pulling ahead. One memorable example from Collins illustrates this perfectly. The case of Walgreens, the renowned pharmacy chain. Back in the late 90s, the world was heading online, and a rival emerged in a blaze of hype, drugstore.com. The dazzling tech newcomer instantly ate away Walgreens' market value, triggering intense pressure from shareholders and media to jump quickly onto the e-commerce bandwagon. But Walgreens stayed composed, resisting panic and impulsive reactions. Rather than being swept away by tech enthusiasm, they asked a critical question. Can going online support and enhance our core strategy? Their central strategy was always about one clear goal: making pharmacy experiences more convenient for customers, thus increasing profits per visit. Walgreens realized carefully building an online presence could perfectly complement this objective. So instead of hurriedly launching just any website, they patiently crafted a thoughtfully tailored digital experience, seamlessly offering services like online prescription refills. The outcome spoke for itself. While drugstore.com swiftly lost traction, rapidly declining from a promising startup to nearly worthless, Walgreens emerged stronger, regaining its lost value and then nearly doubling its stock price. Walgreens' measured approach turned technology into a powerful accelerator for their already proven strategy, leading to long-term dominance. This clear-eyed lesson is simple yet powerful. Technology should never be your master. It needs to serve as a helper, speeding your progress along the path you're already committed to. Smart companies don't chase fads in search of success. They carefully select technologies to fuel momentum on the journey they've chosen. Part 4. The secret behind remarkable success? Level 5 leaders. When we think of highly successful companies, we often picture charismatic and visionary CEOs, bold, flashy personalities who bask in media glow, take center stage in company wins, and revel in their own legend. But Jim Collins's groundbreaking research paints a very different picture. Through extensive analysis of companies that made the extraordinary leap from good to great, Collins discovered one surprising commonality. They were all led by what he calls Level 5 leaders. So, what is Level 5 leadership exactly? Collins describes it as a blend of personal humility and fierce, relentless commitment to achieving exceptional results for the benefit of the company rather than self-gain. Unlike the stereotypical flashy CEO, Level 5 leaders steer their organizations with quiet modesty. They aren't interested in their own fame or fortune. They're passionate about fostering enduring greatness, even if they're never celebrated for it. Level 5 leaders possess a paradoxical duality. They're personally humble yet incredibly ambitious for the collective success of the company. They embrace responsibility when things go wrong, quickly taking the blame instead of shifting it onto others. But when the organization succeeds, they deflect praise gracefully, giving full credit to their team. Consider Darwin Smith, the unassuming yet transformative leader of Kimberly-Clark. When he stepped into the CEO role, the company barely stood out. It was mediocre at best. Yet Darwin, who preferred wearing plaid shirts and spent his spare time tinkering on his Wisconsin farm, quietly reshaped Kimberly-Clark into a powerful global competitor in paper-based consumer products. Throughout the process, Smith actively avoided attention or acclaim, remaining humble and entirely absorbed in doing what was best for the company. Today, Kimberly-Clark stands as a lasting testament to Smith's remarkable yet modest leadership. Contrast this approach with CEOs who display outsized egos. Sure, they can steer an organization toward short-term success, but ultimately their self-centered style weakens the company over time. Stanley Galt from Rubbermaid offers a prime example. While undeniably skilled, Galt left such massive gaps in his succession plan that after stepping down, the company quickly faltered. Once admired as a top corporate performer, Rubbermaid rapidly fell from glory, eventually losing its independence in only 5 years. Great leadership isn't about being a star. It's about creating an enduring company capable of thriving without its founders. And Level 5 leaders uniquely combine individual humility with intense ambition for their organization's enduring success. In the end, long-term excellence depends on cultivating leaders who do what's best not for their personal status, but for the legacy they leave behind. Part 5. Greatness starts with getting the right people on your team. Many organizations scramble trying to figure out their next big idea, a groundbreaking product, or the perfect strategy. But Jim Collins discovered something fascinating and perhaps surprising in his extensive research. It's not the what, but rather the who that matters most at the beginning. The foundation for lasting greatness lies in carefully selecting and investing in the right people, even before you've precisely defined your organization's future direction. Imagine your company as a bus. Often, managers decide exactly where the bus needs to go, then start filling it with people who have the skills or background to help reach that destination. Collins's Good to Great companies flip this approach. They first and foremost make sure the right people are on the bus and ensure the wrong ones get off, even before mapping out the route. Because the truth is, with the right team on board, the destination becomes clearer, faster. Consider the story of Dick Cooley, the CEO who guided Wells Fargo decades before scandal ever touched its name. When Wells Fargo faced massive changes brought by banking industry deregulation, Cooley knew he couldn't predict precisely what the future would hold. Instead of crafting a detailed strategic blueprint, he focused relentlessly on recruiting the absolute best, smartest, most driven individuals. He knew this team would find their way through whatever the future presented, a bet that paid off powerfully. Legendary investor Warren Buffett later applauded Wells Fargo executives as the best management team in business, and the company soared in performance and reputation. But what's surprising about these good to great companies is their hiring philosophy. They don't put much emphasis on the candidate's formal background or existing industry-specific skills. Instead, they prioritize character and innate ambition. Why? Because talented people, the right ones, can and will continue to grow, learn, and adapt. As these companies discovered, attitudes and drive are far harder to teach than industry specifics. That's why good to great organizations don't hesitate to bring exceptional people aboard, even if a particular role isn't clearly defined yet. Their hiring motto is simple: find outstanding individuals first. They'll naturally find effective ways to contribute. And just as critical as hiring excellent people is swiftly dealing with individuals who don't fit. Great companies don't allow mismatched employees to linger, draining morale and hurting performance. Instead, they either quickly shift these individuals to a position better suited to their strengths, or gently but decisively guide them out. Ignoring these misfits is never a good tactic. It simply slows down and frustrates the entire organization. So remember, building greatness isn't just about visionary leadership or inspiring products. It's fundamentally about getting the right people in the right seats and courageously letting go of those who don't align. Focus your energy first on assembling an incredible team, and the path toward remarkable success will naturally follow. Part 6. Great companies face brutal facts head on, but never lose hope. How do organizations move beyond average success, even during tough times? Jim Collins discovered one particularly powerful answer. Successful organizations master something he calls the Stockdale paradox. This paradox takes its name from Admiral James Stockdale, a decorated U.S. naval officer imprisoned in Vietnam at the notorious Hanoi Hilton. Stockdale endured unimaginable hardship. He was repeatedly tortured, held in solitary confinement, and faced profound uncertainty about ever seeing his family again. Yet, through all this suffering, Stockdale maintained an unwavering belief that he would one day return home and reunite with his loved ones. This faith kept him alive mentally, emotionally, and physically. But Stockdale wasn't blindly optimistic like some fellow prisoners he knew, those who wistfully asserted they'd be home by Christmas or Easter. Such prisoners inevitably lost heart, and often their lives, when those dates came and went without rescue. Stockdale saw things differently. He recognized the stark reality of his captivity, confronted its harshness head on, and yet still held absolute faith in his eventual return home. Years later, reflecting on his survival, he credited it to that unique mix of brutal realism and resilient hope. What's striking is that companies transitioning from good to great adopt exactly this same paradoxical mindset. Instead of sugarcoating or being swept away by false promises, they look straightforwardly at the truth, no matter how daunting. At the same time, they never lose confidence in their eventual success. They trust that they'll weather the storm, confront difficult truths, and ultimately emerge stronger. Take the competitive battle in the paper goods industry, a showdown that offers a crystal clear illustration of this paradox in action. When widely feared consumer giant Procter & Gamble decided to step into paper products, existing leaders Scott Paper and Kimberly-Clark reacted in starkly different ways. Scott Paper panicked, quickly assuming they had lost the game even before it began. They saw P&G's immense financial strength, brand recognition, and distribution power, and tried frantically to diversify into product categories where P&G wasn't yet present. Kimberly-Clark, however, adopted the Stockdale paradox. Though fully acknowledging the brutal competitive challenge P&G posed, they embraced the reality without flinching, actually expressing excitement over the daunting competitor they faced. In one memorable meeting, Kimberly-Clark executives even held a symbolic moment of silence for Procter & Gamble, clearly signaling their fierce competitive spirit and unwavering confidence they'd ultimately succeed. Fast forward 20 years, and the difference in outcomes couldn't have been more dramatic. Kimberly-Clark not only thrived, but conquered Scott Paper, eventually acquiring them. And astonishingly, they went on to decisively dominate P&G in 6 out of 8 key product categories. The lesson here is powerful. Great organizations don't shy away from confronting difficult truths. They face reality clearly, precisely, and courageously. But equally important, they never lose an underlying sense of faith, confidence, and commitment to their ultimate success. In short, if you want your company to rise from good to great, embrace the Stockdale paradox, face your current reality squarely, but never stop believing you'll prevail in the end. Part 7. Great leaders aren't afraid of tough truths. They actively encourage them. Picture a corporate leader addressing her senior team. Everyone nods politely. No one disagrees. No difficult questions arise. It feels reassuring, but that's actually a danger sign. Jim Collins's groundbreaking research makes it clear. Companies that go from merely good to truly great aren't places where tough truths are buried or brushed aside. They're places where harsh realities surface regularly in open, honest conversations. And it's ultimately up to leadership to create the conditions where these messy but essential discussions flourish, without hesitation or fear. Leaders who rely too heavily on personal charisma or intimidation can unintentionally build walls around themselves, making candid conversations less likely. After all, who wants to deliver bad news or point out uncomfortable issues to an intimidating boss? Yet, as Collins points out, concealing harsh realities from leadership doesn't make problems disappear. It merely lets them fester. Instead, great leaders are committed to openness. They're not lecturers or dictators. Instead, they're more like thoughtful moderators, asking genuine questions rather than spouting immediate answers. They employ what's known as the Socratic method, a practice of asking targeted, honest questions to spark truthful conversations, challenge assumptions, and provoke deeper insights. When disagreements arise, these leaders don't silence the argument. They encourage healthy debate, making meetings a safe space for energetic discussions and diverse points of view. Why? Because open debate surfaces valuable ideas and ensures teams reach smarter, sharper decisions. And, perhaps toughest of all, when mistakes do happen, these leaders don't focus on assigning blame. Instead, they look carefully at the disappointing outcome and ask, what can we learn from this? Placing blame creates fear and shutdown. Genuine curiosity and analysis lead to growth and trust. Good to great companies also carefully construct what Collins calls red flag mechanisms. Clear, simple systems that empower employees at every level to alert leadership when something feels off track or concerning. This ensures tough problems surface quickly and remain visible, rather than being hidden out of fear or discomfort. Collins's research uncovered something important here. Exceptional companies don't necessarily see or hold more information than their mediocre counterparts. Instead, what separates them is a willingness to openly confront reality, no matter how uncomfortable. If you lead a team, think hard about your organization. Do your people feel safe speaking uncomfortable truths? Or are they hesitant, preferring instead to tell you what they think you want to hear? Is there an atmosphere of genuine openness, where honesty is seen as strength, not risk? Without open discussion, confronting harsh realities simply isn't possible. As a leader, it's your responsibility and your opportunity to build an environment grounded in fearless honesty and genuine trust. After all, growth isn't comfortable, but comfort rarely leads to greatness. Part 8. True greatness requires disciplined action, not just smart ideas. Lots of organizations have clear, smart, and ambitious plans, but surprisingly few achieve lasting excellence. So what's missing? Often, it's the critical factor of discipline, a deep-rooted commitment across the entire company to consistently pursue your defined direction. Jim Collins emphasizes that having your hedgehog concept, that simple central strategy that guides your every move, is essential, but knowing it isn't enough. The step from good to great demands rigorous self-discipline every day. But let's be clear, discipline doesn't mean an intimidating boss demanding strict compliance. It's not about one domineering manager enforcing rules or compliance. That approach rarely builds true, lasting strength. Collins discovered that truly outstanding, long-term success comes only when a disciplined culture itself runs deep throughout every corner of the company, embraced voluntarily from within by committed, motivated employees and leaders alike. Take the cautionary tale of Rubbermaid, whose CEO, Stanley Galt, proudly called himself a sincere tyrant. Sure, under his strict leadership, the company briefly thrived. But the disciplined atmosphere he created was brittle and superficial. It collapsed almost immediately once he stepped down. Within just a short few years of his departure, Rubbermaid had lost nearly 60% of its market value. Clearly, discipline enforced by power doesn't endure. On the other hand, consider the sustainable discipline practiced by Wells Fargo decades earlier. Determined to thrive despite banking sector deregulation, Wells Fargo leadership made radical, disciplined choices to streamline costs. They froze high-level executive salaries, sold lavish corporate jets, shut down exclusive dining rooms, and switched to modest catering. The CEO even began calling out managers who wasted money handing in overly elaborate reports in fancy binders. None of these decisions alone might have single-handedly transformed Wells Fargo into a leading powerhouse. But collectively, they symbolically established a company-wide expectation of disciplined action, an unwavering commitment to staying aligned with their core hedgehog strategy. Importantly, these steps weren't forced. Leaders willingly embraced and modeled disciplined practices, inspiring their teams to do the same. It became part of the company's DNA, a true culture of excellence, sustained by genuine commitment rather than superficial enforcement. Great companies stay disciplined because their leaders constantly ask one simple question: does this align with our hedgehog concept? If the answer is no, they don't hesitate to cut distractions, even if it means sacrificing comfort, luxuries, or perks they've enjoyed. Achieving sustained greatness means creating an environment where team members at every level choose disciplined, strategic actions not through threats or fear, but through shared commitment toward the same clear, central objective. When disciplined action comes from within rather than from above, greatness becomes natural, sustainable, and enduring. Final summary. When we step back and look at companies that made the leap from ordinary to exceptional, some clear patterns emerge. Jim Collins's extensive research reveals that greatness isn't a sudden phenomenon, nor does it arise purely from luck or flashy innovation. Instead, it consistently comes down to a disciplined simplicity, purposeful leadership, and unwavering focus on the core concept that defines your organization. It starts with clarifying and absolutely committing to your hedgehog concept. What exactly do we mean by this? The hedgehog idea means narrowing down your strategy to just a few critical questions. Firstly, ask yourself, what can we truly be the best at? Not just good or great, but genuinely world-class. Understand your strengths, accept your limitations, and build relentlessly around the one thing you can excel in uniquely. Secondly, identify, what are we deeply passionate about? Sustainable greatness never comes from chasing trends or trying to fake enthusiasm. Long-term exceptional performance is always built upon a genuine passion that motivates your entire team. Finally, discover the single economic driver, the critical indicator, that matters most to your company's success. Perhaps it's maximizing profit per customer, return on assets, growth in market share, whatever measure best aligns directly with your core strategy and true potential. Next, remember the crucial importance of people, not just your leadership, but throughout the entire organization. Before outlining the precise direction you want to go, surround yourself only with dedicated, motivated individuals who embody your company's values and vision. Emphasize character and willingness to grow above immediate experience. Skills can be taught, core character, less so. And if someone doesn't fit, act quickly and compassionately, either shifting that individual into a role that suits them better or letting them gracefully move on. Greatness demands courage in choosing your team. Now, combine simplicity and disciplined execution with leadership capable of confronting raw, harsh realities head-on. Adopt the mindset embodied by Admiral Stockdale, the powerful willingness to face brutal truths openly and utterly without losing faith in eventual success. Create forums and opportunities for employees to bravely voice concerns, uncover tough truths, and collaboratively identify solutions. Finally, cultivate rigorous, disciplined execution around your chosen hedgehog concept. True discipline doesn't emerge through intimidation or harsh oversight. Rather, sustainable discipline flourishes when your team's own commitment and passion steer the fundamental choices toward your shared goal. Consistently and openly ask your team, are our actions supporting our core strategic purpose? If they aren't, be prepared to remove distractions ruthlessly, even if it involves sacrificing enjoyable luxuries or comfortable traditions. Ultimately, great companies aren't created through blind luck or flashy one-time innovation. They emerge by diligently applying these simple principles: clearly defining a focused mission, surrounding themselves with talented and genuinely aligned individuals, openly confronting tough realities, and taking measured, disciplined steps in the same consistent direction toward their exceptional vision. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of learning and discovery as we explored the insights of another thought-provoking book in our growing library of knowledge. If you've enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to follow our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share 20-minute books with other knowledge seekers. Your support truly means a lot. Don't forget to join me again in the next episode, where we will delve into another enriching book. Until then, happy reading and happy listening.